The city was boiling with excitement as the top girl group, CharmHuntress, prepared to kick off their annual concert. Fans had flooded the venue hours in advance, waving light sticks and banners, forming a glowing sea of anticipation. But as the countdown to showtime approached, uneasiness began to ripple through the crowd. The three core members of the group were nowhere to be seen. At that very moment, the trio was sitting comfortably inside a private jet, devouring an extravagant spread of in-flight dishes. They were so absorbed in their feast that they had practically forgotten they had a concert to perform. Their carefree mood was shattered only when their manager called, practically screaming through the phone, demanding to know why they still hadn't arrived at the venue. The girls exchanged confused looks and rushed to the window, only to realize the aircraft had long deviated from its intended route. Suspicion rising, they turned toward the cabin crew. Instead of maintaining order, the crew members were behaving bizarrely. Lumi stepped forward to stop an attendant's strange actions. When she grabbed the woman's wrist, a pattern of dark, twisted markings surfaced beneath the skin. It wasn't human, as if triggered by the exposure. The rest of the crew shed their disguises and revealed their true forms, but the girls didn't panic. To the world, CharmHuntress was a shining idol group. In reality, they were demon hunters, warriors trained to eliminate creatures from the underworld. Their glamorous stage career was only a facade to conceal their true mission. Unfazed, the girls finished the instant noodles they had been eating, quietly agreeing they would settle the fight in under 3 minutes, as they always did. Weapons materialized. Mira summoned her massive azure dragon blade, Zoe's throwing knives lined up around her, and Lumi's 4 silver swords hovered at her side like extensions of her will. In an instant, the plane tore apart under the force of combat. Metal panels ripped away, sucked into the sky, yet the 3 girls stood firm among the debris. They leapt out of the collapsing jet, using falling scraps as platforms to fight off the pursuing demons. They even managed to touch up their makeup midair. The 3 shot downward like streaks of light and landed precisely on the center of the concert stage. The music cues hit, the lights flared on, and CharmHuntress slid seamlessly into performance mode. Excited fans released streams of emotional, soul energy that rose like golden particles, floating toward the stage. Lumi felt the warmth of that power and smiled, yet behind the brilliance of the stage lay pain and sacrifice. Lumi's mother had been a member of the previous generation's group, Sunshine Sisters, and lost her life protecting humanity shortly after Lumi was born. Lumi knew the story but rarely spoke of it. The grief was still an open wound. Meanwhile, the one demon that survived the plane incident limped back to the underworld. Before it could explain its failure, the enraged Demon King, Guima, incinerated it instantly. He could not allow CharmHuntress to continue strengthening the soul gate. If it turned gold, the demon realm would be sealed forever. Just then, a refined demon carrying a lute stepped forward, Sainwu. Calm and perceptive, he proposed a modern tactic. Instead of direct combat, they would corrupt human emotions. He suggested forming a demon boy band whose fame could overshadow CharmHuntress and taint the soul gate with chaos. Guima approved. At the same time, CharmHuntress released their new single, Golden, hoping to amplify the positive soul energy generated by fans. But during rehearsal, Lumi's long-hidden secret surfaced. A dark marking crawled up her arm, unmistakably a demon's sigil. She had concealed it for years with clothing and makeup, but now it had spread toward her neck. When she attempted a high note during rehearsal, her voice cracked painfully. Their manager immediately canceled the upcoming live showcase, sparking an uproar among fans. While Lumi struggled with fear and shame, the demon boy band, Shaga Boys, made their dazzling debut. And the battle for the hearts of the city officially began. Shaga Boys didn't take long to stir up a wildfire of attention across the city. CharmHuntress realized they weren't dealing with ordinary rivals. Both groups were invited to record a popular variety show on the same day. One of the main segments was a super spicy challenge, and Shaga Boys volunteered immediately. Abe, the muscular member, took giant bites of the hottest sauce and ended up contorting his entire face, sending the audience into hysterics. During the chaos, Sainwu sensed a familiar presence and turned to glance backstage, right where CharmHuntress stood watching. With a half smile, he invited them on stage, deliberately putting them in an awkward position and forcing them into the segment. The result was comedic gold for the viewers but a clear provocation for the hunters. When the filming wrapped, Shaga Boys slipped away. CharmHuntress, unknowingly led by demonic traces, followed their trail to an eerie, quiet bathhouse. The moment they entered, steam rolled across the tiled floor. The pools, seemingly calm seconds ago, erupted with waves as dozens of water demons surged upward, surrounding them. The battle began instantly. Mira carved through incoming waves with her blade, Zoe darted across the slippery tiles while her throwing knives found their targets with precision, and Lumi leapt above the pools, directing her floating silver swords to strike from every angle. The numbers were overwhelming, forcing the trio to split up. Then Lumi felt a faint, retreating aura. Sainwu was escaping through the back exit. She rushed after him and blocked him in the dim hallway. Their breaths echoed in the narrow space, and during a sudden movement, Lumi's sleeve slipped, revealing the dark markings on her arm. Sainwu froze. He knew that pattern anywhere. It was the unmistakable mark of a half-demon. Lumi's heart seized. She could handle monsters, but she wasn't ready for her friends to see the truth hidden under her skin. Before she could react, Mira and Zoe's distant cries echoed from the bathhouse, calling for help. Lumi turned instinctively, but Senwu stepped forward, pulling her against him for a brief moment as he wrapped a silk scarf around her arm to hide the markings. Go, they need you. His voice was calm, yet urgent. Lumi ran back, concealed once more, and crushed the remaining demons. But what she didn't notice was that the remnants of these destroyed demons, thin, smoky wisps, were being tightly sucked away into an unseen force. Something in the shadows was collecting them. Shaga Boys' skyrocketing fame led to packed fan signing events, and to everyone's shock, even CharmHuntress supporters began switching sides. To keep the fandom from splitting further, their manager arranged a joint signing event for both groups. The venue was overflowing. CharmHuntress and Shaga Boys sat in alternating seats. Mira found herself between Abe and Romance, an unexpectedly eye-catching trio. Zoe sat beside Baby, forming an adorably mismatched pair. But the crowd's attention immediately shifted to Lumi and Senwu, who sat only inches apart. The two exchanged quiet words, strategic whispers rather than affection, but fans interpreted it very differently. Someone shouted excitedly, insisting the two must already be secretly dating. From the far end, Mira noticed it too. Her chest tightened with unexplained worry. Something about Lumi felt off. Then a small girl nervously handed Senwu a drawing. The child had scribbled, "You're a good person." Senwu's expression froze for a split second. The simple message cut through his centuries of guilt like a blade. That night, Lumi was resting on the balcony when a three-eyed magpie fluttered onto the railing, wearing a tiny hat. Immediately behind it trudged a large white tiger spirit beast, clumsy, round-eyed, and absolutely incapable of stealth. The tiger bumped into a flower pot, got tangled in a watering can, and looked nothing like a fearsome creature. Lumi couldn't help but laugh. They reminded her of an old Joseon-era folk painting, the magpie and the tiger, but with comical twists. The tiger paced in front of her, then spat out a small card. Written in neat handwriting was a simple message. "Come meet me. Signed, Senwu." Just then, Mira knocked on the door. The tiger tried to teleport away but got distracted by a toppled trash can, pawing at it instead. Lumi hurriedly wrapped the beast in a blanket and hid it behind her bed. Mira looked at her with narrowed eyes. "You're acting strange lately. Are you hiding something?" Lumi forced a smile and made up an excuse. But she knew Mira was right, she couldn't keep this up forever. The city continued spiraling downward as more people mysteriously disappeared and the Soul Gate weakened. Shaga Boys' popularity blasted past 50 million followers, turning them into an unstoppable cultural force. Realizing how dire things had become, Lumi reached out to Senwu again. This time, she no longer saw him simply as an enemy, but as someone who held answers she desperately needed. She hoped he could help break Guima's grip on the world and perhaps offer a way to reverse her growing demon markings. They met in a quiet alley. Lumi explained her fears, the collapsing Soul Gate, the increasing demon attacks, and her own uncontrollable condition. After a long silence, Senwu proposed a risky but promising solution. If CharmHuntress could win first place at the upcoming International Idol competition, human emotions would surge in unity, forcing the Soul Gate to reforge itself. Once restored to gold, the barrier would cut off Guima's control and trap the demon realm again. And in that moment, Lumi allowed herself to imagine. Perhaps the Golden Soul Gate might even erase the curse on her body. Before they could discuss further, an elderly woman passing by mistook them for a quarreling couple. She forced a decorative bracelet into Lumi's hand, insisting she deserved a more reliable man. Lumi nearly choked from embarrassment. She turned to leave, but Senwu gently took hold of her wrist. The touch froze both of them. He spoke softly, telling her she was never a mistake. Those simple words hit Lumi harder than any attack she had faced. As the idol competition drew closer, training intensified. But every time they rehearsed Take Down, Lumi felt increasingly conflicted. The song's lyrics were sharp, almost cruel, full of resentment toward demons. With the markings spreading under her skin, every line made her feel as though she were condemning herself. When she suggested rewriting the lyrics, Mira and Zoe pushed back. They accused her of overthinking, even questioning her loyalty to the group's mission. Mira, unable to hold back, directly asked if Lumi was hiding something serious. The words struck like lightning. Lumi couldn't answer. The air trembled with tension. At the same time, the demon realm began pouring its forces into the human world. A full train of passengers vanished without a trace. Another act of mass soul harvesting. CharmHuntress tried to intervene but was overwhelmed. Without Lumi's full power, they were losing ground. Her teammates knew they needed her voice. But Lumi felt more broken by the day. Pushed to the edge, Lumi sought out Senwu again. This time, she laid everything bare, her fears, guilt, exhaustion, and the pain of hiding her true nature from those she loved. Senwu admitted he too had been living under the weight of darkness, terrified of who he had become, and ashamed of the past he couldn't escape. In that shared vulnerability, something shifted between them. Their voices naturally blended into a melody, at first shaky, then unexpectedly harmonious. In that moment of emotional release, Lumi's voice healed. The knot in her heart loosened, and her throat finally felt free. Senwu, too, looked lighter. As though a centuries-old burden had loosened, he made a decision. Shaga Boys would forfeit the competition. CharmHuntress would win. Filled with renewed purpose, Lumi returned to her group. She apologized, and her teammates quickly followed suit. They realized their bond had been strained by fear and misunderstanding. Together, they decided to abandon the aggressive takedown and perform Golden, a song of hope, not hatred. Lumi even promised that once the soul gate sealed the demon realm again, she would join the girls for a well-earned hot spring vacation. Maybe by then, her markings would be gone. For the first time in a long time, she truly laughed. The day of the International Idol competition arrived. As planned, Shaga Boys staged a fake fight backstage, giving CharmHuntress the opening slot. The moment Lumi stepped on stage, her restored voice soared. The crowd erupted, releasing massive waves of golden soul energy. The soul gate flickered, preparing to reform. And then, the lights cut out. Takedown blasted through the speakers. When the stage lights came back on, Lumi found herself flanked by Mira and Zoe. But their eyes were wrong, cold, lifeless. They weren't her teammates. The imposters grabbed Lumi's face, ripping off the beauty mark she used to hide her demon marking. Under the searing lights, her secret was revealed. The black sigil spread across her cheek and neck. The audience gasped, horrified. The fake teammates began publicly denouncing her, painting her as an abomination, a half-breed that didn't belong on any stage. The word struck harder than any attack. Raw power burst from Lumi uncontrollably, causing lights to explode and the stage to tremble. At that moment, the real Mira and Zoe burst into the arena. Having realized they'd been lured away, they froze, witnessing Lumi's exposed markings for the first time. Shock, pain, guilt, not anger, never anger. Lumi tried to explain, but the words wouldn't come. Unable to face them, she fled into the chaos. Lumi searched desperately for Seinwu, hoping he could explain or help. Instead, she learned that Guima had dragged him back to the demon realm after discovering their alliance. There, the Demon King revealed the truth behind Seinwu's centuries of torment. Long ago, when Seinwu gained favor in the palace due to his gifted voice, he did not lose his family by accident. He had left them, choosing wealth and luxury while his mother and sister were abandoned to poverty. That shame had haunted him for 400 years. Guima threatened to replay those memories endlessly if Seinwu dared aid Lumi again, turning his guilt into eternal torture. Twisted by fear and despair, Seinwu began to spiral, even trying to convince Lumi that people like them, those touched by corruption, deserved nothing but misery. Lumi's heart ached at the sight of him drowning in self-hatred. CharmHuntress officially disbanded in the chaos following the reveal, and the soul gate shattered further. Panic tore through the city as soul energy fractured. Seizing the moment, Shaga Boys announced a special performance at Namsan Tower, claiming they wanted to calm the public. In truth, they intended to gather as many people as possible for a massive sacrifice to feed Guima. Under the growing corruption, citizens walked toward the tower like sleepwalkers. Even Mira and Zoe struggled to keep their minds clear. At this critical moment, Lumi's mentor, once a member of the past generation's magical trio, found her. They had raised Lumi like their own child, but could never fully accept Lumi's demon bloodline. The mentor begged Lumi to hide her markings again and pretend nothing had happened. But Lumi refused. For the first time, she chose to stop running. She took off her long sleeves and let her markings show. She would face everything head-on. Crowds gathered beneath Namsan Tower as Shaga Boys performed atop the platform. Guima's colossal shadow reached through the cracks between worlds, ready to devour the humans below. Just as the corrupted music stopped, Lumi stepped forward alone. She sang. Her voice wasn't perfect, but it was honest, raw, and powerful. She urged everyone to accept their flaws and darkness, not suppress them, because unity wasn't about perfection but truth. Mira and Zoe broke free of the corruption and ran to join her. Together, their harmonized voices cleansed the violet haze. Demons rushed in from every direction, but the girls fought them back mid-song, refusing to let the melody falter. Seeing his forces crumble, Guima devoured his own minions, forming a massive energy blast aimed straight at Lumi. Just before it hit, Seinwu appeared, shielding her with his own body. With his final strength, he channeled his soul into Lumi's weapon. Empowered, Lumi charged forward, her blade slicing through the Demon King's fiery form. Though it tried to regenerate, the united soul energy of fans, friends, and Lumi herself overwhelmed the darkness. A brilliant barrier formed above the city, not golden this time, but shimmering in multiple colors, stronger and more vibrant than anything in history. The color gate was born, and the demon realm was sealed. After the battle, CharmHuntress finally took their long-promised hot spring trip. Steam rose gently around them. Lumi's markings still glimmered faintly on her skin, but under the sun, they looked beautiful, not frightening. Peace had returned. On a distant rock, the three-eyed magpie and clumsy white tiger lounged lazily, basking in the sunlight like guardians of this quiet new era.